Okay, my good man, we meet again. What a pleasure. Now, I felt deeply inspired to come on here today and share with you a message I received from a client quite recently. Last week, I worked with a man, and it was maybe a day or two afterwards, I received this message from him. Now, he will remain anonymous, of course, just like all of my clients do. That's signed within a contract of confidentiality. But to read this, because I think it's important for us as men to open up as a discussion. He said, I was thinking earlier, the situation you found me in and helped me with last night, there's a billion men out there in very similar circumstance and mindset. We all see the promotions and adverts for therapy and counseling, but most men will be put off by the idea of divulging all the personal details and this whole idea of talking about it with someone. That old rhetoric. Men should talk more about their feelings, you know? So that's another topic for another day. But this is how it went on. He said it would be very powerful and valuable if you were to choose to offer this service, if you framed it that way, getting straight to the point. Many men will be in a position of being avoidant, feeling unappreciated, and longing for intimacy, but unable to open themselves up to receive it. I'd add a little piece to this, which is a lot of men struggle with intimacy because they lack intimacy with themselves. We need to establish that first, but we'll continue. He said it was powerful to face it at a deeper level that went beyond the narrative that I'd went round and round in my own mind about. Completely different proposition than any type of therapy and counseling I was aware of. And this inspired me to come forth and share more about what it is that I do and what I've been helping people with. I've been doing this for over 7 years now. My background was in phobias, extreme fears, anxieties, panic attacks. Over the years, I've worked with men and run workshops with men. There's something very important that you as a man need to know, and it's the power of emotional mastery, psychological mastery. Not just how to think, but how to structure our thinking as it relates to the sensations, the feelings in our body, the typical emotions, stress, sadness, grief, shame, embarrassment, these types of things that when we look into are nothing more than labels for physical sensations in the body. When we say stress, beneath the label of stress, when we open the jar, we see tension in the jaw, perhaps, tension in the shoulders, grinding of the teeth, an elevated heart rate, perhaps, clammy hands, knotted stomach. There's different varying sensations unique to each individual. Obviously, there's some themes here, but it's unique to every individual. What some people label stress. One person labels these sensations stress. The other person would label that an absolute panic attack and crisis. So we have different relationships to the sensations in our body. Sensations in our body is information. Information that our mind is either interpreting or receiving. That interpretation, well, as the old expression goes, it's up for interpretation. It can be accurate or it can be completely off the mark. For the people that find themselves in recurring patterns of behavior, this idea of being the nice guy who doesn't get his way, ends up resentful, passive aggressive, doesn't get the outcomes he wants or believes he deserves, who's afraid of conflict, who's afraid of speaking his mind, whose voice feels trapped, whose posture feels hunched, and all the body language experts telling him to pull his shoulders back. When really your body language, just like your voice, just like your written words, is nothing more than an expression of an internal state. That internal state is made up of thoughts, beliefs, conclusions, and sensations in the body. I've been helping people well, certainly in the last 7 years with this, but in the last maybe 3, 4 years, I've developed my own method for this, inspired largely by Tibetan meditation practices. When that gets coupled with therapy, you see so many meditation teachers, they just tell you to sit down and look at a candle or close your eyes and focus on your breath. It's like, well, yeah, we've done that, buddy. We could do that for another 40 years and even be up the Himalayas at the feet of the Grandmaster, and we're still just focusing on our breathing whilst all the thoughts in the mind is going crazy. Because it's not about the practice as much as it is about the insight and the realization. We can speed up that 40 years of practice with guidance and mentoring. And this is where this is very different from therapy. One client about 3 weeks ago described this process, and I'm glad he did, because I didn't have it in this terminology. It must have been an engineer or something, but he said, I know what it is you do, Lewis. You target the mechanics of the psychological and emotional conditions. This is exactly what we do. This is why it's different from counseling, traditional talking therapies, the whole let me analyze your past and your childhood and what was your relationship like with your mother and your father. Whilst that data might be relevant or interesting or insightful or helpful, there's a much more graceful, more straight to the point, effective way of processing and releasing these old patterns of behavior. And it's by targeting, as this good man shared with me, it's targeting the mechanics, the workings of it, the nuts and bolts. How does this thing actually operate? Because we have, of course, we have three components that we would be working together as a team. The first component is the thoughts. The thoughts. Now, the thoughts are either rooted in an expectation of an anticipated future or the memories and experiences of a distant past. But either way, the future or the past does not exist outside of our thoughts about it. In other words, that is a fictitious story. It no longer exists. It happened one time. If it was in your past, it happened. These isolated events happen in time, never to be repeated in the exact same way as the man that you are now today. Yet we carry this over us. I describe it as the falsehoods, the hood that covers us, that prevents us from seeing clearly, from living the life we want, from making the decisions that best serve us. So we have the thoughts and narratives that are, in my way of my language, my way of describing it, it's like a self-generated virtual reality or hologram. We keep buying into it. We're infusing it with light. It requires light. That light is our conscious awareness. We need that conscious awareness to bring these thoughts into existence. The thoughts require your awareness to exist. Your awareness doesn't require the thoughts to exist. This is the sustaining principle. This is what we need to identify with and keep coming back to. So we have the thoughts. We then, to the extent that we buy into them, we believe they're real. Even the word belief, be life. To the extent we conclude that they're real or significant or meaningful or true or factual, or even as the persuasive mind might say it, it could happen again. It might happen. It did happen, as they try and hold the position. But based on a level of belief in that, we then start to react emotionally. So the emotions begin to manifest, begin to arise in the body, the physical body, and we begin to feel those sensations. Again, as we drop beneath the anger, the frustration, the grief, the shame, the embarrassment, whatever it is, we find a grouping of sensations. The emotions, the emotional word stress, for example, is just a label given to a grouping of sensations in our body. A grouping of sensations in our body. But based on the label we give it, we then interpret that label to mean something, for better or for worse. For a lot of people, they see it as a negative. Well, it feels terrible. That means it's a bad thing. So we have these presuppositions running. frames of perception, almost behind the scenes, altering and influencing our reaction to this. It's bad, I shouldn't feel this way, something's wrong with me, I'm out of control, whatever the narrative is. Based on that interpretation, we then start to react to it. And this reinforces the behavior. All behaviors in life are an expression of an internal state. The internal state is dependent on our interpretation of what these sensations in the body mean. A clenched jaw, for example. Oh my gosh, I'm so stressed right now. Well, in another context, it just means you've been chewing gum for too long. You know? Oh, my shoulders are so tight, I'm so pent up, I'm so pissed off. In another circumstance and condition, oh, I've had a great back workout. That feels fantastic. You know, the sensation is actually more or less the same, but the interpretation of it changes. And it's largely this interpretation that sets everything in motion. So if you have psychological and emotional patterns, unworthiness, not good enough, self-esteem issues, I'm the nice guy syndrome person, you know, not getting what I want, being disrespected, you know, I deserve better, but I don't feel capable of speaking my mind. I'm afraid of conflict, sexual insecurity, for example. I've worked with a lot of men over the years, erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation. And that's impacting either their marriage or their partnerships and things like this. Often a lot of that in the realm of intimacy, a lot of the problems that occur from something like premature ejaculation and erectile dysfunction tend to be the judgment and the shame and the embarrassment that we're placing on it. Your woman just wants to connect with you. She wants to be embraced. She wants to be held. She wants to feel your presence and desire for her, your love for her. But every time you go off into your mind and you're like, oh, no, no, what if it happens again? Oh, no, it did happen again. And then you're spiraling. All of a sudden, you're like locked in on yourself and you've abandoned her, effectively. You've abandoned her. And she's like, what's wrong? You know, it's okay. We can go again. No, it's not good enough. You know, and we're beating ourselves up. All of this can be changed. All of this can be changed so long as we're willing to confront the beast that haunts us. And that is the path. The path of man is to confront the dragon and the monster. I feel like I'm sounding like Jordan Peterson right now, but it's true that myth. We all heard that myth before Jordan Peterson kicked the doors down and made sure we remembered it forevermore. You know, saving the princess from the tower, fighting the dragon, getting the gold and the princess. That's what we're here for, my man. So we can make life a lot easier for ourselves if we're willing to confront the internal narratives, the internal feelings in our body. And I can help you in a very straightforward, a very approachable, a very I describe it as a content-free method of therapy where you don't have to divulge all the details and all the stuff and all the history and all this noise. All we need to do is close your eyes, connect with the thought, activate the emotional response, and I can help you disconnect that emotional response, release the shame, release the embarrassment, release the fear. And then what happens is the emotion clears, and the thought and the narratives and the beliefs without any emotion, just like watching a movie without any emotion. If we're not moved by it, it's atrocious. It's boring. It's something discardable. We can cast it away and move forwards with our life because that's what life's really about. It's about moving forward consistently, powerfully, learning, growing, evolving, becoming who we know we're meant to be. So if you find yourself in a state of conflict with yourself, a way of identifying this, the old saying, I'm my own worst enemy. I describe it as subconscious incongruence. So this is where you have a goal, you have a vision, you have a desired way of being and showing up in life, but emotionally and psychologically there's an opposite force here. There's I want to be confident, I want to put myself out there, I want to get the girl, I want to overcome the demon or whatever, want to get the job, but I just don't feel ready yet. That type of thing, you know? I want to be calm and peaceful, but I just keep having outbursts. I'm still so pissed off. That would be an example of subconscious incongruence. Another way it shows up for smokers, for example, I want to quit smoking, but I just keep on falling backwards and relapsing. That's where your conscious will and your subconscious needs are not aligned and congruent. This is what I can help you with. And it's fast, effective, and it's private. You don't need to divulge all the details and talk to a little old granny about your feelings. You know, if that's required, if that's something you need, of course, that is welcome. It's always welcome. Nothing new under the sun, my friend. Lewis has been around the block, many different characters, many different men of different ages and stages of life, different demographics. I've worked with CEOs, businessmen. I've worked with your average typical builder. I've worked with your lawyers, your accountants, doctors. Who else have I worked with? Nurses. I've worked with some ex-servicemen, military men. I've worked with police officers. Whole wide demographic of different men and women, of course, in my phobia therapy days. You can be the next one, my friend. All it takes is a message. You'll see the website below, risingmen.co.uk. Take a look at the website. Take a look at the website, my friend. There's two paths you can choose from. On the website, you will see the path of the demon slayer, which is what we're talking about right now. Experience my methodology. It starts with a message, and I'll be in contact with you. You can also book in an initial free consultation with me. The other path is path of the North Star alignment. This is you connecting with purpose, meaning, vigor, direction. This is for men that feel like they're stuck in a rut, they're plateaued, they've had enough, and they know that things need to change. They just need someone in their corner to help uncover, someone non-judgmental and someone, that you don't have history with. A neutral position. Someone that can ask you questions and help draw out of you, not tell you, I'm never going to be here to advise you on how to cut your sandwiches, how to live your life. I'm not a life advisor, So that's not in my remit. My job is to ask you questions because we both know you're the captain of the ship. This is your life, my friend. This is your decision. This is your responsibility. You're the captain of the ship. I'm co-pilot. I'm here to say, Captain, where are we headed? How can I best serve you? What needs to be done here? What do you want? What's important to you? Where are you going? How do you want to be different? What's getting in the way of that? It's very simple. Where are you now? Where do you want to be? And what's the gap in the middle? We have the logistical gap. There's things I need to learn or do or conversations I need to have. That's actually the easy part. The hard part is the psychological resistance that maintains the gap. That keeps us separate from our desires and our vision and our goals. Psychological growing pains, I call them. When we start to confront the monster, we start to walk up the mountain and the thoughts start thinking, oh gosh, it's going to take a while. Don't know if I can be bothered with this. That's the internal conflict I can absolutely annihilate with you, and it won't be me annihilating it. I'll be providing you with the tools and techniques you need to silence and annihilate these whispers, these narratives, these ghosts that have been haunting you from your past or looming into your future. So, my man, it's been a real pleasure to connect with you here. It's Lewis McDonald again. Till next time.